Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick little video and kind of explain what we're doing with the phrasing and the reason behind it. The kids actually call this scooping the sentence. So if you hear them calling it scooping the sentence, that's kind of where the terminology came from. So the general idea behind this is that reading sentences and phrases gets the kids to where they're reading just small little chunks of words, but the phrases are meaningful. This actually takes the pressure off of them because a lot of times what they try to do is they try to read the whole sentence and they wind up trying to read it very quickly because they want to make sure that they're reading at a decent pace, and then they wind up missing words. And so taking the pressure off them, then they know that they only have to read a couple of words at a time, or maybe 3 or 4 words at a time. And so it kind of slows them down and helps their accuracy. And then the other thing is that this is supported by research. The research indicates that reading in phrases does help with comprehension, and I've seen this work many times. So it's not just that it makes them sound better, and it's not just that it improves their rate or number of words per minute, but it also helps them with their comprehension. So here are their rules. They basically have to take a pencil and they also have to read it out loud. A lot of times they'll need to read it 2 or 3 times. The first time, I would like for them to read it just for the word call to make sure they get all the words correct. But then I want them to go back and take a pencil and connect the first word of the phrase to the last word of the phrase using a pencil. So they cannot end a phrase on the words a, an, or the. And I left this out of there. I'm not sure why, but they also know that they can't end a phrase on the word and or but. So here are some examples. The first one, the boy caught a ball with his hands. So an acceptable phrase would be caught a ball. So then you could read that sentence, the boy caught a ball with his hands. The way I would not want them to read it would be the boy caught a what? Is what I usually ask. And usually by the time I say caught a what, they will go back and correct themselves. Then another one would be another rule that I ask them to follow is if they see a preposition, the preposition always begins a new phrase. Technically, prepositions are not something they're taught in 3rd grade, but I kind of had to teach it to get them to where they could recognize a preposition. So an example of that would be she was hiding under the table. So an acceptable phrase would be under the table. What I would not want them to do is read it like she was hiding under. And then I would go back and ask, she was hiding under what? And they'll typically say, oh yeah. And then they'll go back and fix whatever and change the way they were reading it. But if they were reading it with the second way, it would sound like this. She was hiding under the table, as opposed to she was hiding under the table. So you have 2 distinct phrases. The first phrase tells what she was doing. The second phrase tells where she was doing it. And so that little pause and reading that sentence in 2 little phrases kind of gets them smaller chunks of what that sentence is about. And then I wanted to go ahead and put up some examples of how they can do these. This is not exact. If they have a different answer, it may be okay. I just want them to stay within the parameters that they are being asked to use, like the don't end on a, and, or the. Make sure your prepositions are all in a phrase. So they can vary a little bit from this as long as they're using the same rules. So I will go ahead and put the first 3 up, and you can take a second to look over those. And I want to point this out here too. I had, if you look on lesson 52, I had a student comment earlier in the week when I gave some feedback that he made an oops. Well, there's Miss Lori's oopses too. I made some too. So and then the last three, and I will go ahead. I will put more up next week. But if you will send me a text with a picture of their work, we can go over this together when we meet up, when we do Google Meet, or I can give y'all feedback via text or however you guys want to do it. Y'all just let me know what you need. So here are the last three, and you can pause and look at those as well. And that would be it, guys. I miss you, and I can't wait to see you next week.